Hey y'all, it's Jillian from Maxine Makes Magic. Welcome back to my channel. For this week's Disney Parks food series video, we are headed over to the Backlot in Disney's Hollywood Studios and Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. I am really looking forward to heading over to Hollywood Studios this week because I don't know about you, but I think there are quite a bit of Star Wars fans out there that love Hollywood Studios just as much as I do. And the treat we're focusing on this week is inspired by one of the furriest friends in the galaxy, Chewbacca. Yes, we are making the famous Wookie Cookie from Backlot Express. To give a little bit of background on this quick service location, it's located in the Echo Lake area of Hollywood Studios near Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular and Star Tours. This is an original location to the park. It's been the same for years. When MGM Studios first opened, this was one of the quick service restaurants available, so it's really cool that it's still known for some really awesome treats throughout the park. But today we're talking about the Wookie Cookie. The Wookie Cookie currently runs for $6.79, which for the size of the treat itself, I think is pretty fair per Disney standards. It's definitely shareable, but it's 2 oatmeal cookies with vanilla cream sandwiched in between, topped with a little brown and white sash similar to the one that Chewbacca wears. Here is our reference picture for the day. Again, a pretty standard treat that I think is gonna be pretty easy for folks to replicate at home. If you know a little girl called Little Debbie, you will notice what this treat looks like. It is very similar to an oatmeal cream pie cookie. So if you are familiar with that, this is an oatmeal cream pie cookie. Amped up is the best way I can describe it. It is so large. It's like big like a Gideon's cookie. They're just massive from what I'm seeing here in the pictures. So we are gonna create that here today at home in my kitchen, and I'm so excited to do that with you. We're back in Hollywood Studios. I already did a Hollywood Studios video that was about the lunchbox tarts that are over at Woody's Lunchbox in Toy Story Land. So if you wanna check that out, be sure to do so. But let's do our typical ingredient roundup and let's get into it. Come over to the corner of my kitchen for today's ingredient roundup. Now the recipe that I will be using for the oatmeal cookies is from the Better Homes and Garden cookbook. So just know I will, as always, post the recipe in the video description, but it is coming over from our friends at Better Homes and Gardens. Another thing I want to note too for today, I am using for my ingredients half portions, meaning all of my ingredients have been cut in half. I will read you guys the full portions because I feel like most folks are gonna wanna make this in a much larger size than what I'm doing, but since it's just my husband and I at home enjoying these treats this weekend, I'm gonna cut everything in half, but I'll make sure to read you guys everything in its full original form. So I'm gonna put this right over here for reference so I don't mess anybody up from the very get-go of our video. But starting off with our dry ingredients for our cookie base, we have, we've got 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour to start. In addition to that, and the most important thing we have to keep in mind is our 2 cups of rolled oats. Obviously, you need those for this recipe if you're gonna be making a traditional oatmeal cream pie style cookie. In addition to that too, I've got all of my dry ingredients here for our baking powder, as well as our baking soda. Yes, we have that too. Our cinnamon, as well as our ground cloves. The quantities on that, and I'm gonna bring this closer because getting old here, guys. I need to be able to see what I'm reading. We've got a teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. The cinnamon and the cloves are optional, but they're going to bring that traditional Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie flavor. So I would say to go with the cinnamon and cloves. If you've got kids that are very sensitive to spices, you probably could drop the cloves and keep the cinnamon too. So just an idea there. But that rounds up our dry ingredients. So moving over to our wet ingredients, and again, I'm cutting everything in half. So if you're noticing I've got 1 egg instead of 2, remember that's why. But For the recipe, if you are following the entire thing, you're gonna have 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Got that here. In addition to that too, you're going to need your butter. It's 3/4 of a cup of butter or margarine. I'm using unsalted butter today. And then last but not least, for our wet ingredients, we've got a cup of brown sugar and 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. So we will go ahead and start working on these guys just in a second, but we also need to move over to our cream filling, our vanilla cream filling, and our decorations. So let's do that. Taking a look at our powdered sugar, I have 2 cups here. This is not Better Homes and Gardens. This is a homemade recipe that I'm sharing with you guys. So I'll just, detail that in the description, but this is a homemade one. 2 cups of powdered sugar. We also have our stick of butter or our 1/2 cup of butter unsalted. Everything is room temperature. And then last but not least, we have our 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now, to decorate these guys, I'm very excited. This is super, super easy to do. You could always temper chocolate and do it the hard way, but we are all about making things family friendly and easy here at Maxine Makes Magic. So with that in mind, to do the little ribbon or sash that he wears, it has all of his different galaxy gear on it. You can use a Hershey bar in the back side so it's nice and flat. I'm being a little bit bougie. I am actually going to use some white candy melts in order to create the little blocks on each individual Hershey bar sash. Quantity wise, maybe like 1/4 cup. You're not gonna need a ton of this to melt down. You'll either want a warmer in order to melt these down, which is what I'm gonna use today, or you can pop them in the microwave in a microwave safe dish on multiple bursts, small quick bursts, in order to get this melted down. But that is our ingredient roundup for today. We did things a little bit differently, but I just want to be so conversational with you guys this week. I am so excited about this one. So let's get into making the cookie because that's what you guys are here for. Let's go. All right, y'all, to start off our cookie today, we are going to take our unsalted butter and pop that into our mixer, as well as our sugar and our granulated sugar, I should say, and our brown sugar. We're gonna pop that into our mixer and get that creaming for about, I would say 5 to 7 minutes, pretty standard time on the channel. So let's go ahead and get these guys rolling. While our mixer continues to run, we can combine our dry ingredients. So we have our all-purpose flour. We also need our rolled oats. And then last but not least, we need our baking soda, baking powder, our cinnamon, and our nutmeg. So we're gonna pop those all into the same bowl here and give them a nice whisk, making sure all of our ingredients are nicely combined together. So when we add them into our wet ingredients, everything combines nice and easily. And if a whisk isn't working for you, you always can switch to a spatula too. I'm gonna do that today. Just to again make sure that everything is nice and combined. You're gonna get that cinnamon and clove smell. Oh, it smells so good in here already, you guys, and we haven't even started really making our cookies yet. You can see over here that the butter and the sugars are combining really well. I'm gonna actually go ahead and crank up the mixer, keep that rolling along. So I realized somewhere in my math process, I had to go grab my husband, who is way better at math than me, that I had the wrong amount of butter when cutting this recipe in half. I actually need 3 more tablespoons of butter, and it won't impact anything here too much. I'm just gonna let it keep combining together. And once this is done beating, it's nice and fluffy, we can add in the remainder of our wet ingredients, which is our egg, as well as our vanilla extract. Note to self, always have someone who is a mathematician in your kitchen. Now that our ingredients are nice and combined, we can add in our egg as well as our vanilla extract and keep beating until they are fully combined. And then we can move into adding our dry ingredients. Now that we get everything nice and combined, I'm going to just do a quick scrape of my mixing bowl just to make sure that everything is nice and combined. We don't want any clumps of sugar or butter that have been left behind. So we're going to give this one more little turn around in our mixer, and then we can go ahead and start adding in our dry ingredients. Easy peasy, just like that. Alrighty, let's get our dry ingredients going in our mixing bowl. I'm gonna add a little bit of this at a time. So I'm just gonna use my best judgment here. I'm probably gonna cut it in half. And now you don't want to over mix, so make sure you keep this on a low speed. And just as you start to see things coming together and you see less flour showing, you can stop your mixer. Again, you can scrape down the sides of the bowl and the beater attachment. Having a KitchenAid attachment like this that has the spatula on it is really helpful. It's actually changed the game when it comes to baking in my household. It makes it a lot easier to really like scrape down the sides of the bowl as I go. It kind of does the work for me. But because I want to make sure this is absolutely perfect, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little extra scrape down. We can add our final dry ingredients in. We have 2 hands for this bowl today. Don't want to break it. And we can finish off combining our dough. Oh my goodness, you guys, it smells so good in here. And once our dough comes all together, we can stop our mixer and it is so beyond ready to go. I want to bring you guys a little bit closer so you can see what it looks like. The final dough is beautiful. You've got those nice little rolled oats in there. It smells like cinnamon and clove, and obviously that dough is ready to be rolled. It is falling off my spatula and it is ready to be mended into cookies so we can get these measured out and ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and get my oven set here. It's gonna be at 375. So give that a start. To ensure all of our cookies bake up to the same size, I'm going to prep these 3-inch stainless steel molds. Using a little bit of vegetable oil and a piece of paper towel, I'm just lining each ring with some oil to ensure the cookies do not stick. I'll need 8 molds for my cookies today, and I'll make sure to add the Amazon link in the description box. Using a 2-inch cookie scoop, I'm just gonna add my dough to each individual ring mold. I was having a little bit of a difficulty today, so I did have to use my hands in order to get the dough out of the scoop, but if you've got a better scoop than me, it should work just fine. Once you get the dough into each of your ring molds, you can take the back of a spoon and just press the dough down into the ring mold. That will just help make sure the cookies rise evenly once they're put in the oven. You can go ahead and pop your cookies in the oven and bake them for 10 to 12 minutes or until they're golden brown. While our cookies are baking, we can start on making our vanilla frosting. We're gonna beat the butter in our stand mixer to kick things off. You're gonna wanna put the mixer on medium to high speed and beat the butter for about 5 to 7 minutes. And once the butter is beat pretty well, you can go ahead and stop your mixer. You'll wanna scrape down the sides, making sure that there's no clumps of butter because we do not want that in our final and smooth buttery filling. Once you've scraped down your bowl, you can switch from a paddle attachment to a whisk attachment, and you're gonna slowly add in portions of your powdered sugar at a time. You'll want to keep your mixer on a low speed to ensure that you don't have powdered sugar flying all over your kitchen. Halfway through adding your powdered sugar, you can drop in your vanilla extract and follow up with adding in the remainder of your powdered sugar. To make for an even more velvety buttercream, you can optionally add in some heavy whipping cream. I usually just eyeball this, but you can use anywhere from 1 teaspoon all the way up to a tablespoon or so. This is 100% up to you. Just note that if you do use heavy whipping cream, you will have to store these cookies in the refrigerator because butter is shelf stable and can sit in a cabinet or within the fridge. You can leave it out on your counter when you make your final sandwiches, but if you are gonna go with the heavy whipping cream, you do need to make sure you refrigerate these cookies to make sure they last longer and don't spoil. Once your mixing is complete, you're gonna have this beautiful, fluffy buttercream that tastes oh so delicious. Now that our cookies are complete and they have cooled, we can pop them out of their ring molds. I let these sit on the counter after baking in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. All you have to do is give these sides a subtle nudge because that oil that you put on the sides of the ring molds is gonna help these guys pop out so easily, and they're perfectly symmetrical, which is exactly what we want for the Wookie cookie. To make Chewbacca's sash, we're gonna need to melt down our candy melt in the color white. I used about a quarter cup here and just applied it to my Wilton melter and set it on high. You can also melt these in the microwave on 10-second bursts at 60% power until fully melted. For Chewbacca's brown sash, I'm using some Hershey bars and their perforations in order to cut the bar into 6 individual sashes. Because I only made 4 cookie pairs, I only need 4 of these bars, but it's okay to have some extras in case you mess up or to have something to snack on. Using a piping bag fit with a very small Wilton tip, again, I'll make sure to note that in the video description, I piped on the square design that you see on the Wookie cookie that you can get at Backlot Express. I alternated between squares and circles and did the best that I could. I am not an artist, but I'm still very proud of how these turned out. Once our cookies are fully cooled, we can take one side and pipe them with buttercream because we'll want to sandwich them together to make the final Wookie cookie. I used a large Wilton piping bag with a large round tip that I'll note in the video description, and sandwiching these together was very easy because of the fact that we used those ring molds to ensure they were the exact same size. All cookies should have a top and bottom that fit perfectly together. To add Chewbacca's sash to the top of each cookie, I added 3 dollops of buttercream to the bottom of the Hershey bars and placed those on top in a diagonal shape on top of each individual cookie. Make sure to add a generous dollop of frosting because if you don't, you'll see I just completely tried pushing that down so it would adhere better to the cookie and the Hershey bar broke, which again is not a huge deal, but something to keep in mind. And here is the final result. You guys, they are so cute, and I think that Chewbacca would approve. Guys, we have finished our Wookie cookies and I'm so excited with how they turned out. They look very similar to our reference picture for the day. And as someone who's actually never had this in the park, I am pretty impressed. I think it has that amazing oatmeal cookie like scent that you would expect from like a Little Debbie sandwich cookie, but these things are massive. And honestly, Chewbacca's massive. So he deserves a cookie that, you know, stacks up to his height. Really, really cute treat overall. I keep smelling it because it smells like fall, and you know, fall is right around the corner, but it's got that amazing cinnamon and clove smell. You get that vanilla from the buttercream. The sash is the only part that was a little bit difficult to make on the top, but I think we did a pretty decent job for what we had available to us, and I'm pretty proud of how these turned out. The only thing we have left to do now is, of course, as I always say, my favorite part of the video, give the cookie a try. And this one is going to be interesting because the height alone, oh my gosh, this bite is going to be insane. It is time for the taste test. Okay, time for the taste test. Let's get serious. We are going to just go at this as best we can. This is a judgment-free zone. There's no good way to attack this, but we're just gonna go for it. So, cheers! Oh my God. It is so good. Just like an oatmeal cream pie. It's exactly what you expect it to be. Amazing. Oh my, it is so good. Chewbacca, thank you for existing. This is delicious. I am, as usual, speechless and pretty proud of myself if I do say so myself. It is really, really good. And this was pretty much the easiest recipe I've done other than the sash. It's pretty straightforward. I just take a moment to acknowledge. You guys, this is so good. If you like oatmeal cream pies, this is for you. The inside maybe could use a touch more filling. Kind of oozes out the sides when you bite into it. I don't love an exuberant amount of frosting, which probably makes me an anomaly here, but delicious. You guys, give this one a try. Another easy one, if you're gonna do something with your family and friends, if you want to do like a Star Wars movie marathon night, this would be such a fun thing to make if you're hosting. I think most friends would be pretty impressed with this one, and it would just bring your gathering together. If you like videos just like these, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Got the Halloween season right around the corner, so I'm really excited to see what recipes I can come up with to celebrate the Halloween and soon to be Christmas holiday. As always, this is Jillian from Maxine Makes Magic, and I hope you have a magical day. Bye, guys!